Good evening, everybody. I'm Larry Adams. I'm Director of School Bond Projects for Santa Clara Unified School District, and we're here to give you a quick update of the progress of our new schools on the Agnews site. We have an elementary, a middle school, and a high school, and major street improvements underway on Zanker Road. So with us tonight, we have Rochella Defensor. Rochella is the project manager for all of the projects at Agnews. And we also have Dr. Stella Kemp, District Superintendent. Dr. Kemp may want to speak briefly about the progress of the development of the schools themselves and the openings. And Dr. Kemp, do you want to say anything about our Zanker Road issue with the traffic mitigation fee?
Oh, yes. Well, we are, we're out. If it's okay, Larry, if I start.
Yes. Well, let me just by way of getting this out there first, we're still on track to open the elementary school in August of next year, August of 2021. And we're on track to open the middle school at the same time. And we've broken ground on the high school, and that's scheduled to open in August of 2022. So having said that, Dr. Kemp?
The high school's opening in 22.
Yes.
Oh, I better hire a principal.
I did get that right, Rochelle, didn't I?
Yeah. Got a rise out of me. Okay. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. And we are so excited about the progress that's been made. And Larry and his team have been working really diligently. And, I know that it's been a challenging time with COVID, and we've managed to stay on track, and we're looking forward to opening these campuses. So let me just start by saying that we have had a little challenge with the city of San Jose and the traffic mitigation fee that has been issued to the district. We're still in conversation with the city, hoping that this fee does get waived. We're not sure what the outcome is going to be. And so as you may see some things on the board agenda regarding that coming up, and we're doing what we can to address the needs of the Santa Clara Unified School District community, because every dollar we spend outside what our scope was for this, that's not in alignment with the district's bond measure. These additional fees begin to add up and impact other projects. That being said, we have paid the traffic mitigation fee to the city, and we have filed a protest with them because we don't believe that the district needs to pay this traffic mitigation fee, because we are a public agency, and no other public agencies have had to pay a traffic mitigation fee. Generally, traffic mitigation fees are paid by developers. They're paid by companies that come in and build office space, but not nonprofits. So you wouldn't see like a library pay a traffic mitigation fee, or a county agency that comes in pay a traffic mitigation fee if they're creating a structure to serve the community within a region. But the city of San Jose, as you know, has waived those fees to developers, but they're charging our school district, and so we have filed a protest on the traffic mitigation fee. So, and we'll see what happens next. With that, though, we have, as you know, hired our principal for our elementary school, Shanaz Wadwania, who has come to us from Bellevue, Washington. She was hired actually last year with the intent that we were going to open the elementary school this fall, but that didn't happen. And so we reassigned her to some other major projects, including our Vision 2035 work, which I think some of you are aware of and have heard about. We've kind of put that a little bit on the hold right now of launching out the visioning work for the school district because we're addressing COVID-19 and the reopening of in-person instruction in our schools. We hope in the next few weeks to months. The principal at Huerta Middle School, Dolores Huerta Middle School, is Donnell Sontag. Donnell was previously in our school district, went to Campbell Campbell Elementary District, where she was a principal, and has come back now and is leading the design work at the two schools, at her school, along with Shanaz at the elementary school. So we're very excited about this this opportunity for us to create this new schools that will help to support the Vision 2035 work. And I don't have the graphic with me, but we do have a graduate portrait. Our community has identified 8 areas for students that would demonstrate their proficiency and readiness to enter college and career pathways once they graduate from high school. And so Donnell and Shanaz have been working closely together to create a pipeline, instructional pipeline from elementary to middle school. And then now we have a new director of secondary education who is working on the planning for the high school. And so these 3 systems are going to be very beautifully lined together with the intent that every child who graduates from those schools is college and career ready, which means that in the high school, the instructional program that our high school students will experience will lead towards completion of a career and tech ed pathway, along with preparation for college coursework. So meeting those requirements so they have options when they leave high school. And in that really lines up to Vision 2035, which is, how do you build those competencies and skills for students to be successful? So we're looking at really embedded project-based learning. We're looking at in partnering with corporations to come in and serve as mentors to our students, to have a portfolio system set up for our students so that along the course of the time that they're in school, they will have waypoints or certain grade levels where they'll do a portfolio presentation or a project that will lead to this end of their senior year portfolio, where they'll have a research project that they may investigate regarding their community that they're in, that they're supported by a local mentor, whether it's a business person, a staff, could be somebody else in the community that helps them to develop this presentation and to demonstrate their competencies and skills to be prepared and to leave our district and to lead a successful life as a citizen here in our community. So it's done in this is new to Santa Clara Unified. We've been a very traditional school district with a very traditional kind of AP courses and this normal pathway, but now we're actually stepping up the bar, because we believe that it's important that our students here in Santa Clara have an equally rich educational environment that is on par with some of the top school districts and top high schools in the area. And so what we have to do is we have to raise the expectations. So along with that, we've also developed an adult portrait, so that mirrors what we're expecting for students, and we also have to expect the same thing from the adults within our system. And then as we step back and we looked at all this and said, if this is what we want, what do we have to change about our school district? What do we need to do differently to make sure that we're able to reach those goals? And that's our system portrait. So this stuff is all, right now we're in the beginning of developing our first strategic plan, but the 15-year vision will have a series of strategic plans that will help us to get there in the end. So we're excited about the new high school, because it will really be the showcase of this new strategic vision. Thank you. And I'm here for any questions if you have any. I'll talk to you for a while.
I think if anyone has any questions, they can go ahead and ask them. We don't have a lot of people tonight, so it's not like a crowd fighting for questions. Anybody?
Hi, this is Nalini. I live in Villaggio. Sorry, I joined a couple of minutes later. I wanted to know when the elementary school will be starting.
Hi, Nalini, thank you. The elementary school will be opening in fall 21, and right, 20. Yeah, this yes. Fall is 2021. Yes, and so it'll be opening in fall 2021. The original design was to open the school K2, and then we will roll up grades over the course of time.
Okay, cool, great. Yes. Thank you.
The middle school will open with 6th grade. That's our current plan.
Okay, so if you could allow Rochella to share her screen.
Sure. I think I already made her a co-host, didn't I? Yeah, she's a co-host, so she can start going. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Um, so I pulled up some aerial photos and I decided to show one of what it looked like around the same time last year. So this was a year ago. We were just finishing up our cement deep soil mixing operations to stabilize the soil, got some building footings in, starting some steel. You can see this is back here's the can you see the pointers too?
Mm-hmm.
Back here's the elementary school. This is the middle school. This is air apartments. This would be the middle school field. This photo was taken maybe just a week ago, September 28th. And as you can see, we have 4 buildings up at the elementary school. This is the middle school. This is our 2-story welcome center and classroom building. We have science labs. We have a lunch shelter. This is our cafeteria, which has a shared kitchen, which actually will be shared with our high school student union. And you can also see here that we broke ground at the high school and started laying out the high school building pads. Let's see. I wanted to show you some interior progress photos. This is of our elementary school. This is a floor plan. Let me see. Take you at inside of a preschool classroom right now. I can click through and you can see what that kind of looks like inside and how far we're along. We have walls up, started to lay out the sink locations. We have our air conditioning ducts up, door frames, windows. So we're pretty far along. Switch over to the high school. I wanted to show you we are grading the site currently. We bid the project out early this year during COVID. We did it electronically, got our contractors on board. They've started on site. We poured our first footings just last week. Here's another aerial. You could start seeing the footprint of the softball field, the baseball field, the high school stadium and track, a multi-use field here. And then back here's the elementary school and the middle school. And then this one's, actually this is kind of out of order, but I pulled this up, but this is an interior photo of the middle school gym. And then we also started our offsite project, Zanker Road widening. So got our K-rails up. So we're doing some utility work and widening Zanker Road as part of the overall Agnews campus program projects. So if there's any questions in regards to construction progress, or if you want me to go back and you want to know what certain buildings are, let me know.
Yeah, this is Mike Flauher. We're here for a different reason tonight, but I was on the North San Jose Planning Task Force, and this was a dream back then.
Yeah.
A lot of things to overcome, and to see that this has come this far and is a large dynamic print on North San Jose, which will be part of its hub of activity for all of North San Jose. This is really great to see.
Well, I've been working on this project for over 10 years. So it's gratifying to see it coming along. We have 55 acres, 2 schools. If you walked around the perimeter, you would be walking a mile. But adjacent to us is also a 21-acre a future city park. So I think the combination of what's being done by the city and what's being done by the school district will transform this area.
Yeah, this is why RONA started. It really was. I mean, this was one of our first goals, was to get a school. And you know, when the Agnews site came up for sale, and the state wanted, you know, they didn't want to, you know, they were trying to get somebody to buy the land because they were broke, you know. And we wrote to everybody and really pressed it and said, no, this has to be, you know, this has to be a school. So this was one of our first goals.
Well, it's a large project. There's a lot of us working on it, but every one of us is excited to be working on it. It's a once in a career type project.
Mike Flawher, and I'm the District 2 Director for the Open Space Authority. This is part of my district, Berryessa, Milpitas, and North San Jose. And tonight we wanted to bring you information about our Measure T, which is exciting for us to be able to continue in the future to bring in new lands, new opportunities to our open spaces throughout the county. Even up in Santa Clara, we have Eula Stack, and we have over in Milpitas, the Adobe, where we've spent some of our money in coordination with those entities like the city of Milpitas and others. And so we want to continue those things. Funding is important for that in order to be able to move those things forward and bring these open spaces to the public throughout the county. So if I could give it over to Andrea, and then Joelle will be joining in with the presentation. So Andrea, please take it.
Well, thank you, Mike. Joelle, I'll let you pull up the PowerPoint presentation. So I just wanted to preface my remarks this evening by saying that I'm here tonight as a private citizen, not as the general manager of the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. I'm here tonight to talk about why Measure T is so important. And I want to start my presentation with this very dramatic photo of Laguna Seca in northern Coyote Valley. Last November, the Open Space Authority partnered with the City of San Jose and the Peninsula Open Space Trust to purchase almost 1,000 acres in North Coyote Valley, reversing 40 years of sprawl and launching a much greener future for what many call the last chance landscape, and creating what we hope will be a world-class conservation area in San Jose. Many thanks to Mayor Liccardo and the City Council for their leadership and support to help make this landmark acquisition happen. And really, it could not have happened without the voters supporting Measure Q in 2014, which helped fund this historic purchase. The next slide, Joelle, thanks. So very different than where we just were in at the school site. Here we are on Coyote Ridge and Coyote Valley, where wildlife abound. This Tule elk is part of a herd that roams Coyote Ridge and the hills and valleys to the east. But elk and mountain lion, coyote, bobcats, and other animals need protected habitat to survive. They also need protected lands that are linked together. We call those wildlife linkages or wildlife corridors, which link the Diablo Mountains and the Mount Hamilton Range to the Santa Cruz Mountains. And until recently, this important valley floor that's the connector to between these two mountain ranges would have been cut off by development. Many of you know that the Open Space Authority is in the business of protecting both natural and agricultural lands for many reasons. Certainly to protect wildlife and their habitats, but also to protect open space as a buffer for our communities from more frequent and intense wildfires and floods in the face of climate change. We also work to prevent pollution and improve water quality by protecting the lands around our creeks, rivers, and streams. We protect local family farms and healthy food sources. And as importantly, we connect people to nature, the over 1 million people in our jurisdiction, through our system of public open spaces and trails. Next slide. So speaking of trails and open space preserves, this map shows in green the areas that have been protected by the Open Space Authority as open space preserves, open to the public 365 days a year, free of charge for walking, hiking, and mountain bike riding. We are a public agency, and we were created because of the concern of citizens in the late 80s who saw the rapid growth happening in Silicon Valley and wanting to protect some semblance of balance between growth and nature in Silicon Valley. And so because of the hard work of citizens and our local elected officials, we were created in 1993 by the California State Legislature. And many citizens had a major hand in creating the Open Space Authority. So I would like to give a shout out to OSA's former board member, Jim Ferran, who live in this area. And of course, our current board member, Mike Flocker. Next slide, please. Well, we all know that protecting and providing open space is important for our physical and our mental well-being, and also the health and viability of nature. And in this time of COVID, we've really seen the need to connect with nature and parks and open space magnified. As you may be aware, there's been a steep increase in the demand for access to the out of doors during COVID-19. So in 2019, we had about 300,000 visitors to our open space preserves. And during COVID, that has doubled to 600,000 visitors. And along with that, there's been increased awareness by the public about the importance of nature in their lives. So more than ever, we need to work together to both help protect and restore our open spaces and natural areas and to connect people to them. Next slide. So we are at an unprecedented time in our communities, in our state, our nation, and planet in terms of what is happening to the environment, what's happening to nature. And a big part of the reason we're here tonight is to tell you that Measure T will be on your ballot. Some of you may already have received your ballots in the mail. I know I got mine today. And how protecting nature continues if we continue to invest in the Open Space Authority's work. It's really important to both a habitable environment here in Silicon Valley for future generations of people and wildlife. So Measure T, as you see on the slide, renews the Measure Q parcel tax measure that was passed by over 2/3 of the voters in 2014. Measure Q provides the Open Space Authority with 2/3 of its base operating funding that does our important work. Measure T would continue that without increasing taxes. So the $24 per parcel that people pay would stay in place and not change. Measure T renews that and continues it until ended by voters. Next slide. So it's very reasonable for the taxpayers to ask the question, well, what did you do with the money that we approved in 2014, Measure Q? Let's talk about that first before we continue that funding source. Well, with that $2 a month, or about $24 a year, over the last 6 years, the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority has doubled the acreage of land protected as open space in our jurisdiction to close now to 30,000 acres. I don't know if you saw today's Mercury News and the article on the local section about the protection of Tilton Ranch in Coyote Valley. So that is increasing the number of acres protected. These acres include a once-in-a-generation acquisition of almost 1,000 acres in North Coyote Valley, long threatened open space. We have 26 miles of trails now available to the public in our preserves, and within the next decade, we will add 30 more miles of trail. And in the last 5 years, we've invested $3 million in local community-based projects that connect people to nature. And over the course of our existence since 1993, we've invested close to $12 million in community-based projects in the 5 cities that are part of our jurisdiction. Next slide. So with the support of Measure Q, we've been very efficient and effective in investing in high priority, high impact, open space projects to improve the quality of life of our residents. And we've been able to get a very impressive return on investment. So that $24 you pay each year, for every dollar of those Measure Q funds that we spend, we've been able to attract $3 in public and private partnership funds for conservation, restoration, and recreation projects. This map shows nearly 300 projects that the Open Space Authority has completed since 2014 with that $24 per parcel. So each purple, green, yellow, orange dot you see there represents a property protected, an outdoor education facility, a trail constructed, a community garden or urban farm established, an environmental education program created and delivered, or any number of other projects that are consistent with the voter approved expenditure plan, both in the cities and the urban areas as well as in the more rural areas. Director Flauher just a few minutes ago mentioned Eulastack, which is one of our projects. And if you'll go to the next slide, Joelle. And actually, why don't you go to the next one? That's a little blurry. So Eulastack is right in the area of the River Oaks Neighborhood Association, maybe a mile from many of you. In 1999 and again in 2004, the Open Space Authority granted almost $500,000 to the city of Santa Clara for designing trails and constructing improvements, restoring the site, providing this amazing asset in Santa Clara free of charge to the public for walking, bird watching, and environmental education programs. And we've heard from so many residents that access to nature in this kind of an urban setting is so important, where there are fewer parks per resident than there should be. And it's really wonderful that the River Oaks neighborhood has direct access to Coyote Creek trails as well. Having that access to nature close to home is really, really important. And it's taken on even greater importance during the pandemic. One other thing I wanted to mention is that North Coyote Valley, which I showed you just a minute ago, protects the upper floodplains and watershed of Coyote Creek. And that has provided benefits to downstream residents during floods. So in 2017, we saw record floods in downtown San Jose along Coyote Creek. We worked closely with the city of San Jose using their Measure T funds, coincidentally also called Measure T, to protect upstream floodplains as a benefit to residents and public safety. Next slide. So I'll wrap up here by saying that there is a growing list of organizations, community-based organizations that have endorsed Measure T, and you see that on the next slide, Joelle. This list is growing, and you can see the full list on the website of Friends of Santa Clara Valley Open Space.org. And then there are elected leaders at the local, state, and federal levels that are standing behind the continuation of Measure Q, known as Measure T, on your ballot, and more joining just today. And then, of course, many individuals such as yourselves, community leaders in the 5 cities and in the unincorporated areas. Next slide, Joelle. You can see the folks that are many prominent individuals from all the communities around our jurisdiction who are getting behind Measure T. So we hope that the River Oaks Neighborhood Association, all of those of you who live here with your friends and family, can help pass the word to vote yes on Measure T. Measure T, since it's a local ballot measure, will be fairly far down on the ballot. So we hope people will go down ballot and vote for many important local measures that have been placed before the voters. And I'd be happy to take any questions that anybody might have. Thank you. I think I said Friends of Santa Clara Valley Open Space.org, but it's actually .com. So thank you.
Hey, I had actually two questions.
Sure.
Sounds all great, fully supportive of it, but since I have you,
Yeah.
could you explain a little bit the difference between what you do and what POST is or does?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. Are you familiar with Post's work?
Yes, a little bit.
A little bit. Well, Peninsula Open Space Trust is a nonprofit organization. They're called a land trust. So
Okay.
they take donations from their members, and they partner with public agencies to help us protect land across the Silicon Valley. They also work in Santa Cruz and in San Mateo area. They're a really, really important partner to the Open Space Authority. Sometimes they can work more quickly than us. Sometimes landowners who are selling their property want to work in the utmost of confidentiality, and so they can work with a nonprofit organization to do that. And though we are a nimble, lean government agency that works pretty fast and pretty effectively, sometimes it helps to have a strong nonprofit partner who can work with us to help get the work done when we need them. So that's why they partnered with us to protect lands in Coyote Valley, the 1,000 acres with the city of San Jose. And in today's paper, the article on the local section, the protection of the almost 2,000 acre Tilton Ranch, they partnered with us on that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it is a true public-private partnership with a land trust like Peninsula Open Space Trust.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I was just getting confused, but that makes perfect sense. The other comment I had, I'm actually on the VTA board, Citizens Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
And one thing, as we're discussing kind of the new transit plan, one thing that I notice is that a lot of our open spaces aren't as accessible by people who don't own cars, aren't as accessible by public transit. So I just wanted to make the point and encourage you to think about, how can we improve that? And obviously a money question at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just wanted to bring that up. I think that's important that kind of from an equity perspective,
Yeah.
everybody has access.
Andrea, you might want to mention various
Yeah.
and how that connects the entire Bay Area without a car to both our open space and one of the oldest municipal parks in California.
Well, I think, Robin, as you know, a lot of decisions made in the past about where people would live, where to place development, weren't necessarily made close to where transit was or where parks are.
Right.
And now more than ever, as we grow, it's really, really important that we have green space, not only wide open spaces outside our cities, but the previous presenters there showing us the amazing school that's going in, that they have access to a park next door is really, really important. So that's why our urban open space program is so important. We've invested over $12 million right in cities where people live, in neighborhoods, to connect them to nature. We can't just say, well, if we build it, they will come. We have to meet people where they are. And so we have a real strong connection and commitment to equity going forward. We've done a lot in that area, but we want to do more. And because I have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's on the VTA Citizens Committee, I'll tell you that with this large conservation area coming online in Coyote Valley, it's the stone's throw from the final stop, VTA stop at Santa Teresa. And so what we'd love to see happen is that we can partner with VTA to have non-vehicle, non-car solutions to getting people to these open spaces.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking to VTA a lot about this in the coming months. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. No, and happy to support you in that as any way I can. I think that's a really important point. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.